Hi, this is Bob Kingston, Portland Opera's historian and lecturer, and I'm here today to talk a little bit about Candide and answer some of the questions you might have about this show. The idea to set Candide originally came from the American playwright Lillian Hellman. She approached Bernstein in 1953, and although she had no experience in setting or writing a script for a musical, she and Bernstein had some contact. They apparently wanted to work on some kind of operatic setting of the life of Eva Peron going back to about 1950, so they knew each other. Hellman's interest in Candide was as a way of addressing some of her own demons that came about as a result of testifying in front of the House Un-American Activities Committee. She saw Candide as a vehicle for exploring some of the themes of political oppression and abuse of power. And Bernstein was also very interested in this. He said in a very interesting piece he wrote for the New York Times during the composition of Candide that Voltaire's story throws light in all the dark places, and he referred to what he called the puritanical snobbery and phony moralism that were rampant in American society at the time, and that Candide really addressed many of those issues. So they were both on the same page as far as why this story appealed to them. Voltaire's Candide and the show are similar in many respects. They have lots of the same characters, and the structure of the show mirrors the structure of the story to an extent. Voltaire's novella covers a wide geographical range. We move from Europe to the New World and then back to Europe. And there are some geographical settings in Voltaire's story that are not addressed in the show, but this basic idea of these characters who are kind of on a perpetual quest for each other is similar in both of them. One of the differences between Voltaire's story and the show comes at the very end, and it's one of the things that Bernstein was criticized for not long after the work premiered. Voltaire's story is very much a tale of cynicism and resignation. At the very end, the characters have really decided that they need to make the best of the situation that they're in, and that a lot of the issues that they try to address and solve in the story are just simply not there to be solved. And Bernstein ends the show in a much more optimistic and positive way, and I think he does that because throughout his career, Bernstein was constantly involved in these very life-affirming and very positive ideas. The notion that we can all come together, that we can solve our problems as a group, as a community, is something that runs through his music fairly regularly, and it's one of the differences between Voltaire's story and the show. Well, there are three very famous selections from Candide. The Overture, which is Bernstein's tribute to the music of Mozart and Offenbach and Rossini, is a fun and very ebullient piece, one of the most frequently performed 20th century works in the concert hall. It may interest you to know that when the New York Philharmonic plays Candide in concert, they do it without a conductor as a tribute to Bernstein. Another very famous selection is Cunegonde's aria Glitter and Be Gay, which is a kind of a parody of every coloratura opera aria ever written. The example that's often used as a model is the Jewel song from Gounod's Faust, and I think that's close. I think another relative may be from Johann Strauss Jr.'s Die Fledermaus, the so-called Chardoche, which has a number of similarities. But either way, it's meant to send up these very flashy and sort of brilliant coloratura arias that we hear in many 19th century operas. I would also say that probably the most profoundly moving selection in Candide is the finale, Make Our Garden Grow. It's a work that never fails to just leave me completely spent. It is one of the really glorious moments in theater that I know of. And my favorite section is at the very end when the orchestra drops out and we're left with nothing but the sound of the principals and the chorus singing, "We're neither pure nor wise nor good, we do the best we know, we'll build our house and chop our wood and make our garden grow." Well, I got a little verklempt there just even talking about it, which means I'll probably be a blubbering idiot during the performance, but it is an extremely powerful moment, and it never fails to move an audience to their feet and to tears as well. Yeah, so what is this? That's a question that has dogged this show from the very beginning, and I'm actually going to address the question of terminology and labeling in my pre-performance talk. And I'll even make a case for what I think this piece is. I won't tell you now, but you'll just have to show up to one of my talks to find out. Bernstein wasn't even really sure what to call this. He labeled it a comic operetta. It premiered on Broadway, and in recent years, since 1982, it's found a home in the Opera House. I suppose asking what this is may be kind of an exercise in hair splitting. The next logical question is, does it really matter? I think in a way it does, because I think one of the interesting things about Candide is that it falls within a group of works with shows like Most Happy Fella, Sweeney Todd, Street Scene, Porgy and Bess, that premiered on Broadway but had operatic aspirations. And that's a theme that runs through American musical theater since works like Oklahoma and South Pacific. The idea that these works can aspire to something bigger, something larger, and can address themes that move beyond the standard fare of a Broadway musical. In some ways, Candide is all of those things. It's a musical, it's an operetta, and it's an opera. Bernstein, in a 1956 article for the New York Times, a very interesting piece in which he had a dialogue with himself concerning the composition of Candide, said it's really up to future generations to figure out. I'm not sure we've gotten any closer to resolving that, and it may be for each individual listener something unique and something special. The point really is that this work has endured despite incredible odds, despite a disastrous premiere on Broadway, and despite lots of tinkering and fiddling around from many people, including the producer Hal Prince, composer lyricist Stephen Sondheim, and even Bernstein himself. So maybe depending on the context, the work is all of those things, and that will be for you to decide. Attend my talk and you'll get my idea.